Good afternoon. It's been a little while. July 2nd. It is 1:40 Eastern Standard Time. I'll do a quick chart review and analysis on what we're looking at in the markets. And mostly focus on chart analysis on this particular call. More technicals, not really talking about the fundamentals right now. It is 4th of July, so volume, or week of 4th of July, I should say. Volume's pretty light here in the markets, but let's take a look at what we're looking at here. So silver is a market I'm currently staying out of. Not a huge fan of how the charts are looking. I believe silver long term is bullish, but I'd like to see more of a pullback here. We're in kind of this down trajectory here, really trading within a channel between, call it $32, bouncing down to $29 and descending here. So, descending channel. I'd like to see this get back down to around $28 before I enter, before I really see us maybe taking out these prior tops here at around $32, $33. That was back in end of May. So silver right now we are staying out of, but would like to see that continue to trend downwards. Gold actually called a top here at 2350 is the entry point that I called. I got stopped out of the trade when it reversed back up here to 2350. I've really tightened my stop here, and I really wish I didn't. Would like to enter back in here again before the end of the week at 2346 or so. And this is a short, so I am actually anticipating gold to roll over here, especially as we get into the week of the 4th of July. There's been some data on the JOLTS report and job openings that have been declining. So I do see the Fed likely starting to do interest rate cuts at least in September. I don't see the July meeting happening as far as rate cuts, but similar to silver here, we all know that silver and gold track pretty similarly in terms of the direction they move. And this is also in sort of a down descending channel here. So if we look at kind of the prior highs, all-time highs, I should say, down in May 20th to about now, we're trading within this descending channel, and I would like to see gold actually break back down here towards the swing lows of around 2300, or even back down to this key Fibonacci retracement at the 38% here. I think we've got really strong resistance at 2300. All the way down to about 2280. 2300 is just a psychological level, but then we have chart support here at these prior highs and a Fibonacci retracement level here. So I can see gold really bouncing off here before starting its descent back up, or ascent back up towards the prior all-time highs. So trying to get in on a short here, and then ideally we're going to get in long around 2300. Platinum staying out of as well. We were in on a short in a prior time. It kind of created this ascending channel, and we're kind of breaking back out and retesting the channel. So I do see this rolling over, and I would like to start getting in maybe at these, this support level here, or if it breaks back below 945, anywhere down, either at these swing lows 945 or down to about 900 or lower is where I'd like to get in on platinum on the long side. Very long platinum, really long precious metals in the long term for most of these metals. Crude oil, looking to see this rollover. We actually are 2 cents off from getting this order executed, which is totally fine. I've tried to be a lot more conservative and trade a little bit less here, but we're looking to go short on oil. If you look at the commitment of traders report, which is one thing I will show in terms of fundamentals, just to see where the commercials are, the commercial traders are positioned. If we pull this over here, if we look at crude oil, and we'll pull this into like a 3-month time frame. So I like to trade in the direction of the commercials, because these are the people that are hedging and actually using oil as a commodity, not just traders. So we like to look at this red line here and see what direction they're trending in. And these guys are massively short right now. Like when you think about how the market works, you have to have as many long buyers as there are short sellers, right? In order for this to kind of even out, for every buyer, there's a seller. So if we look at the buyers and sellers, oil has been descending for the commercial traders, and the commercial traders are the ones that are buying oil for actual production and usage. and they're the ones that are hedging and buying at certain prices and selling at certain prices. And if we look, they're currently selling at these prices. And we don't want to just look at the absolute values, because for as long as we can go back, the commercials have always been shorting or negative oil. So the absolute is not the only one we want to look at. We want to look at the relative value. The relative value shows that these guys have actually been taking on a larger and larger short position on oil over recent times. So that's one thing that stuck out to me, and I would like to go short here on oil if we can get our trade executed up a little over $84 per barrel. And then the other position on the commitment of traders that I think really stands out is palladium. And we look palladium, these guys are very much long at these swing lows that we were at, so below $900 an ounce. We look here, the commitment of traders, the commercials were very much going long on palladium down here at this $900 level. So just good to look at as one extra data point to see what direction the commercials are going, the commercial traders and users of commodities. The other markets we'll take a quick look at. S&P's up actually 0.25% today. That's not bad. I had a little bit of a rebound here from this morning where it was kind of starting to bottom out here. There's a little bit of a gap fill, so we'll be looking for that to maybe roll over at some point, but we could test these highs. We're not too far off. Palladium, we're on a short position here. Had some really good trades on palladium this past year so far. And I do think that we're seeing a topping tail. We're starting to see some confirmation here with a red candle on the hourly. We're really going to have to see how this plays out. We're at a Fibonacci level. We're seeing a topping tail. I do think we also broke this channel, which dates back actually pretty far from what I can remember. So this channel goes all the way back, I think, to multi-year highs. Maybe not that far, but we're talking at least over a year back that this channel. So that is really a key support level. And if we're looking on the daily today, we broke through that pretty heavily, but I can see a retrace to the mean here back to about 985 at a minimum. It's highly likely this is going to either act as a key resistance level or support. And before we do have the next leg of the rally, I do see this kind of retesting that 985 level at a minimum before it were to take off. But I think we're going to see a little bit of a rollover here. That's my projection. Natural gas starting to show downward pressure. Dollar is down 0.12% today. It's the only other market that I'm looking at is corn futures, and we had a massive sell-off here, a big rollover, all the way into deep oversold areas. If we pull up our RSIs, deep oversold territory down at these prices. I would like to get an entry here around 415 or lower. I've got an order out for 418. For just one contract. I think this looks pretty good to me. This looks like a good opportunity to start buying in, and we've got a lot of room to run too from an upside perspective. Go back to here. Right, the downside here, maybe 390. Upside, talking almost 500, 509 if we go back to October 23. So a lot of upside, good risk to reward on that on corn futures. Bitcoin, seeing a little bit of a rollover from 63,000. I'm actually surprised we got the bounce that we did off of 60. I thought we were for sure heading lower. 58, then it bounced to 60. We're actually starting to look like it's trajecting upward. Higher lows. So that's interesting. And Ethereum as well. Higher lows. So it's kind of what we're looking at on the commodities. If we jump back over here for a second on the charts that I'm looking at for stocks, big ones that jump out for me right now. Salesforce is a really good one that I was calling on their earnings miss. They actually, I believe, beat earnings, but had slower projections or lowering projections for future. There was a massive gap fill here that is almost filled at this point. There's actually a gap here and a gap here and here. This one I was expecting to get filled, so I can still see Salesforce getting back up to around 267 here for a gap fill. I do think it was pretty oversold here, but didn't end up getting in on that. Charge point I think is interesting. The electric vehicle charging stations. There's a lot of options activity going on the long side for this that I've been watching out for. So we'll see kind of what happens there. And then Tesla today beating delivery expectations and having just a monstrous rip to the upside. Now, one thing I want to point out on Tesla is there is some really heavy resistance. If we track this trend line from the all time highs at 414 back in 2021 through to the highs of July 23 to the highs of December 23, right up to where we're hitting now at $2,031. There is some really strong resistance here. I expect to bounce off of that as a confirming signal of resistance. And I expect us to trade within this range for a bit here. We're probably going to get choppy around 200 before either breaking to the upside or the downside. Favorably to the upside, I think Tesla is still a sleeper of a stock, and we'll see where it goes. But outside of that, GameStop's been really interesting, but kind of looking at potential shorts. Been doing some 0 days till expiration options contracts here on GameStop, Nvidia, which are both favored, I believe, to go down further. I think Nvidia is massively overbought. GameStop is also massively overbought. Roaring Kitty showed that he's actually in positions on Chewy. So I believe he's liquidated a good amount of his equity in GameStop, if I had to guess from where he was. Coursera, I think, is a sleeper. This is one in a trading community that I follow. We got in around 6.7 and we're bouncing and pretty clear bottom is what it looks like. I think massively oversold here. I mean, how long this thing has gone down from around $20 down to $7, and there's no real like bad news or press, which is really interesting on how it can sell off that much. So going to be watching that one for a while. In on a good amount of positions there. We'll see where it goes. Same with Baidu. Chinese stocks have been crushed. And I think there's some really good opportunity for just getting some discount prices. And there's some key support levels that we're about to run into down here where I'll probably add to the position around $83, $84. So outside of that, Disney, I think, is interesting. Disney is starting to just break to the downside further and further. I don't know where kind of the entry points are on that, but it's just one that I'm watching. PayPal, also interesting from a sell-off discount perspective, but it's kind of what we're looking at. So hopefully this was helpful. We're going to watch the trades that we're in on now, which is really just palladium short. We're trying to get in on a gold short and an oil short. But longer term, we're looking to go long on gold, on silver, palladium closer to 900, platinum closer to 900. We'll see where these things go. So thanks for listening and talk to you soon.